Hey folks, welcome to Bear Mountain today. It's fall and it's time to clean out the summer zinnias off our daffodil beds. And we've already kind of started the process a little bit here, but just kind of wanted to show you again that you can grow flowers over daffodil beds. And these are annual, so they're not going to disturb the soil in the winter time or anything like that, and their root systems that were left from the annuals will die out. So what we did is we came through with our electric hedge clippers and cut things off fairly well down to the ground, but there's a few inches left. We'll come back through with our loppers here and just make sure that we clip these guys right at ground level. We don't want stumps left. And we got to kind of be careful of irrigation lines in here too. So the whole point will be, these guys will all be just clipped off at ground level. The roots will die.
Where do you want to leave the roots in?
Well, first thing we don't want to do is we don't want to disturb the daffodil bulbs that are in here, that they're actually starting to grow at this point. So they haven't sprouted up yet, but they're definitely active at this time of year. In some cases, we do have a couple of errant ones that germinated near the end of the bed. Not sure why, but
they usually do.
Sometimes there's just like some of them that just...
Something with those ones that seem to be really early, they will be the first to bloom too.
Yeah, and what's weird about it is that it's pretty much the only place this happens, but we need to get this stuff off because today is November 2nd, and so we need to get this stuff off these beds, and we'll just quickly go through and look for any kind of weeds that are on the top. It's not that big of a deal. They come off really easy because this is a pretty fairly mulched bed. Thank you, Carrots. I really appreciate the help. And then we'll just throw the compost over the top about a ½ inch
but
at most.
Leaving the roots in there, all the goodies that we fertilize the roots with, all stays in the soil too?
Yeah, it does a couple of things. Any minerals and things like that the zinnias, created are in the root system structures. As it rots out, it feeds the biology in there. And also too, as the roots begin to die off, it leaves little air channels for soil microorganisms and water to percolate up and down. So it's all a good thing. And yeah, thank you. So yeah, I mean, if you go and you pull the roots out, you're going to end up with a big clump of soil with it, and it doesn't make any sense to do that. So then the other thing we're going to do after we finish that is some of this stuff, obviously it's still really green, and we're going to make a bucket of JLF fertilizer for next year because it really worked out good this year. We didn't see really any powdery mildew
about a week ago
till like near the end of October. And
right.
That's because it's been really, like today, we've had a lot of overcast. We've had cool nights, fog, all those kinds of things that go on to build that. And but the plants stayed really healthy all the way through till the end. And I think that was a pretty good success.
From a distance, the flowers still look like they're going, but when you get up really close, you can determine that they got some browning on one side or something like that. So
yeah.
They
look pretty sad now.
Yeah, it's done. But, when you walk up to look at them, like if I go over this way, from a distance, they kind of look like, oh, there might be a lot of blooms there. So,
yeah.
But not really.
So before the daffodils sprout, if we see any weeds sprout through the compost layer, I'll just come through with my flame weed eater and just, touch them off the top before they get any bigger. But typically though, kind of pretty much after we've cleared off the bed and, put the compost on, we rarely get any weed issues because it's kind of like this time of year, the weeds have already germinated for the fall winter weeds. And they typically have kind of like, shot their fireworks in getting themselves germinated and getting themselves started to be established. So we're not going to get a whole lot more germination in the soil for weeds and things for a month or two. And that's just good enough to get the daffodils up and going, because by late December, we'll definitely see tips of the daffodils.
Yeah, and so if we do any occultation or anything, we have to do it now so that when those tips start showing, the covers have to come off.
Yeah, we could occultate if the bed is really bad.
But it doesn't look bad.
But none of them really look that bad, and you know, worst case, we could even, these are pretty small beds, we could just quickly go over it with a collinear hoe and just knock the weeds down, and you know, just kind of make it fast. And then what we'll do with the extra refuse that we don't make into fertilizer, we're going to build a compost pile like we did last year. We kind of tug it in the back of the corner behind some bushes, so it's not really that visible. What we'll do is it's kind of a slow compost pile that we never turn, and we'll do a video on it. But what we do is we mix the greens of the flower plants with fallen leaves from our maple tree and a little bit of compost soil in it, and we just kind of layer it and kind of really, you know, kind of pack it, and then put a tarp over the top of it, and then it'll fire up and heat up a little bit, get about 100 degrees for about a week or so. And then once the temperature starts dropping down on the pile down to about 80, then what we do is we take a whole bunch of our compost worms, throw them into it, and that is, they just work on it all winter long. So it's kind of a real slow compost process. And then typically by June or July or so, yeah, I know. June or July or so, we can use the material, and we typically we'll use that just as kind of like a top dressing, or we'll use it to make some compost tea or something like that. So that works out real well, and the pile just disappears really fast. And then it's just like rinse, lather, and repeat, you know? So we got to get to it. Okay, one of the things that we do every year is we get about 20 yards of urban waste compost. And we've been blessed with a good supplier who, the guy who runs the yard really is in tune with all the issues going on with, you know, using recycled materials to make a compost. And this is what we found. This is their organic mix, and the company is certifies it organic, so we do a test on it anyway. Typically when we get a load, we'll take some out and we'll put some like pea transplants in it and see if there's any problems with like an herbicide which is going to cause them to die. And we've never encountered any problems yet. However, there's always a risk with urban compost, so it's know your supplier and know what they do, and that goes a long way to kind of help you. This material has no manure as part of its base, so it's simply food waste from restaurants and grocery store, as well as material that they know is certified from their own operations as free of herbicide. So doesn't mean something can't sneak into it, but in a sense what these guys have done is they've kind of gone the extra mile to put a little more insurance on it. And this pile was delivered about, I guess it's been about a month now. Yeah, probably it's like end of September. And we've had a lot of moist days, and it's kind of interesting just to note the biology on the outside of the pile. It's really, you can kind of see this kind of like patina where there are a lot of fungal activity going on in here. This is kind of, maybe you might say, well, these are just molds on the outside. But in actuality, there's quite a bit of fungal activity going on, and in some cases you can see some of the fruiting bodies starting to form on some types of fungus on the outside. So that's a good thing. I've kind of looked at this stuff under the microscope, and it's got a lot of biologic life in it, a lot of bacterias and things of that nature. So it's definitely not dead material. But like with all urban compost too, what happens is the good stuff goes down in the soil pretty fast with the worms and things pulling down the easy stuff, and usually what happens over a period of time is you kind of get a little bit of a woody mulch residue left on top. Their material, what I found, is not as big woody chunks as a lot of other stuff that we've had in the past, so this has really worked out well for us. So we're going to take some of this material, put it on the beds, probably a 1/4 inch to a 1/2 inch thick. With the whole idea is it's just kind of a top coat to protect things during the winter time, and weed suppression, that sort of thing. And that will finish the beds off. So let's get a load of that on it and we'll see what it looks like. Okay, so we got the bed mulched and got the irrigation lines back on, and that's kind of about it. And we got a pile of material there to going to take some of that and put it in our JLF bucket. And we've just got to kind of rinse and repeat. We've got like 5 more beds of this to do. Doesn't take too long. So we didn't, like I said, we didn't remove anything. We just kind of cut it off. Had a couple of daffodils in the back that sprouted early, and I accidentally nipped a couple of leaves off, but they'll probably grow out of it. They'll look a little ugly, but they'll probably still bloom. And this is it for the winter time. The rains will help, wash all nutrients that's in the compost down into the bulb bed, and should suppress the weeds pretty good, and we should be in good shape. So anyway, just wanted to thank you guys for watching today, and just showing you again, you can do this in a small or even a large way. We've done this now for a number of years, and the daffodils come back fine. And it's just a matter of trying to make certain that you get your timing right. And if you do plant over your daffodil beds, that you're using some kind of short summer annual that that you can get a crop off it, but you don't necessarily have to disturb the bulbs at all. So the whole point of this, you're not disturbing the bulbs at all.
Yeah, and dahlias are not a good choice.
No, if you're going to plant something else that's a summer bulb, or something that you're going to dig, or something like that,
this doesn't work.
It doesn't work, yeah. So I mean, anything like a cosmos or marigolds or zinnias or any of those kinds of summer flowers that you like to have around the place, it's great to put over your daffodil beds. So if you have expansive daffodil beds, say in the front beds on your property or something like that, it's a great way to just keep that color going all year long. So thanks again, and as always, stay safe out there, everybody, and we'll catch you on the next video. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.
Put a little inoculant, a little biochar. Rock this for micronutrients. Handful of compost soil, good stuff. More stuff.